say, just to piggyback on that, we see these movies and we hear these great stories of these entrepreneurs or these people who are wealthy, and they seem to have all this burning desire to go get something. And then we look inside of ourselves and we're like, wait a minute, I don't have that. So something's wrong with me. Yeah. And I say that's not the case. When I was younger, I wanted to be a billionaire. Like I was like, I'm gonna take over the world. Well, after 20 years of being an entrepreneur, I recognize that I value so many things outside of money. I value my family, I value my body, I value my spirituality, I value my kids, my wife, I value my freedoms. I had a staff of like 15, 20 people in running a business, and I was like, I don't want that headache anymore. Like you gotta understand what it is that you actually want and drives you. And stop living for all of these other standards that have been given to you, placed into you, driven into you by these stories that we accept, looking outside of ourselves. Once you get clear about what I call your life lens, the lens that you view your life through, and you understand what it looks like and what it feels like and what meets the criteria of your happiness and fulfillment, your life will become so much simpler. It will be so much easier, and you won't have to force anything because it's you. It naturally aligns with you. And this is what I call leading your story. But you got to understand what motivates you and what really drives you, and stop placing all these other standards and all this other stuff on top of it.
Yeah, brilliant. But I guess one of the things is that, in this modern age, there's just so much pressure actually for people. You look around, on the internet, you find all these successful people or get rich quick things, schemes and things that are actually, get people to maybe, idealize certain people to say, well, if I could be like X, X is, so, successful, he's doing A, B, C, D, maybe I should actually do that as well. So instead of, like you say, looking through the lens to look into themselves and what drives them, they're actually looking and modeling other people. I should be like X. And, in that way, when they actually try to pursue those things, when they face the challenges, they can't last the course because it's not intrinsic with what they actually need themselves. So I guess that's probably another challenge that people face, isn't it? Looking out to other people because there's just so many pressures. But also, I put it to you this way: some of the things that people are intrinsically inclined to do, which they do without needing motivation, actually they probably can't make them a living. So that's another crossroad that people see. Let's say maybe, someone likes, it could be exercise or something sporty or whatever, but maybe they feel they can't see a way how they can actually make a living out of that. Instead, they then look at someone who is doing something that's making money. What would you say to people like that? They say, look, I am intrinsically inclined to do something, but who makes money in that? It doesn't make me money. I need to go and pursue something financial so I can feed my family. I can do something. What would you say?
That's a good question. I think first let's go back to the idea of modeling others. I have no problem with modeling others. The problem with modeling others is when you model and you presume that that's how you're supposed to be. You're modeling to figure out whether or not that's a fit for you. You're not modeling to become, you're basically doing a dry rehearsal, an experiment, if you will. Okay, X has did this, and this is how he moves. Let me see if I can move in that way, and does it fit me? This X isn't better than me. How he does it isn't better than my way, but he seems to have figured out something that I haven't. Let me try it. Right? We should be trying on the wardrobe of others to see how it fits. And if it doesn't fit us, discard it and try something else. So that's the first thing about modeling. Don't take the guru or expert outside of you as the truth. Take them as an example to learn from, and then experiment and try out certain aspects of what they do. What you'll find is that you can take certain parts from this person and that person and this person and this person, and they come together to create what? Something uniquely you. And that's the key thing. Now, once you found the parts that are uniquely you, like you said in your example, you love to exercise. You found your brand, your voice, your authentic way of being you and communicating that, because you got to be able to communicate it to the world. How do you make a living from it? This is where you have to do due diligence of finding that fine line between this authentic, highly personal, individualistic you, and then value in the world, right? You got to find a way to add value to other people, right? So there's a line that crosses between those two worlds. So let's say you are into health and fitness. Well, if I go on Instagram, there are 1,000 different or tens of thousands of different coaches who do exercise, fitness, and wellness. Well, let's look at other aspects of your life. You like health, fitness. You also like spirituality. You also like this esoteric thing with training with rocks. I don't know. So now you say spiritual exercise regimen with rocks. And now you communicate that to the world and you say, this is my jam. This is how I do it. Okay. This is my unique way. You won't be mass appeal to the market, but you don't need to. If you got 1,000 people paying you $100 a month, that's $10,000 a month of income coming in. And a lot of us would be happy with that. But if we're comparing ourselves to the millionaires or gazillionaires out there and saying we have to create something like them, we've already cut ourselves off from our opportunity. One, we're not clear about what will actually make us happy. Two, we're trying to create mass appeal, which takes us away from our individuality and our own core brand. And now we're stuck in this middle treading water, and it feels like we're on a hamster wheel, not going anywhere. Well, find you first, then find that line of where value is added to others, and now project that into the world and communicate it on a day-by-day basis, and you'll find your way.
So that's an absolute golden nugget, X, on that one, because there's over 7 billion people on the planet, and none of us are exactly the same. And just like you've put it, that find your unique sweet spot. If there's hundreds of people there doing fitness, there is gonna be something that is unique, that is different about you, that you can still offer value to the market space. That's an absolute golden nugget there. Now, in most circles, when we talk about personal development, there is a big element about the power of thought and the power of the mind. What's your take on that, about mindset, and how powerful is just the thought and the power of the mind, and how that can actually carry you to where you want to be and to your what?
Yeah, I believe the mind is ground floor, right? It's everything is built upon that. How you think about yourself, how you view the world, how you view everything. Because through this mind and through the interpretation of what you see, feel, taste, all that stuff, your worldview is shaped. And I'll give you a quick story. I think one of the things that is very powerfully driven in the world of those who succeed versus those who flounder and don't live up to their potential is that those who succeed understand how to create an empowering meaning behind the things that happen to them and their circumstance. In other words, they're leading the story in the narrative. So I'll give you an example. When I was 7, we traveled to my aunt's house and she had a pool. We thought she was a rich aunt. She had a pool. We thought, but we couldn't swim. So we would play in the 3-foot end of the pool, right? And it was a family gathering. Everybody's out. And I was at the side of the pool playing with my Hot Wheels. And I threw one of my Hot Wheels between my legs and it rolled into the deep end of the pool. And my dad comes raging up behind me and he says, "Go get it." I'm like, "What?" "Go get it." And before I knew it, he picked me up and threw me in the deep end. And Alex, man, I was gargling water. I was struggling, screaming and hollering, all right, like going down. I finally kicked and got out of the pool. I'm breathing hard and screaming and hollering. My dad says, "Come here." And I was scared to death of my dad. Like he was a tough dude. So I go over to my dad, still hollering and screaming. He picks me up and throws me in again. "Go get it." He does this 5 times. Right? Wow. Before my mom runs up behind him and says, "Bernard, leave that boy alone." And afterwards, Alex, I'm shook, like I'm 7. I just had near-death experience, right? So I'm on the side of the house crying my eyes out. 5 minutes later, I had an epiphany. Wait a minute. I didn't die. I didn't drown. wait a minute, I think I jump in the deep end. So 10 minutes later, I was the only little kid in the deep end with all the teenagers. The point is, I believe it's that skill set that differentiates those who find a way to make it. Like I said, we're all going to deal with challenges. We're all going to deal with setbacks. We're all going to deal with doubt, worry, fear, anxiety. Nobody is immune, especially entrepreneurs. Yeah. Like Elon Musk said, it's like eating glass. No one escapes the pain. But what separates you and allows you to stay with it, which is very important, is that you can create an empowering meaning behind what is going on outside of you.
Yeah.
And I have an uncanny ability to be able to do that no matter what's going on. Find the empowering meaning that doesn't allow me to practice, drill, rehearse drama. Because when you practice, drill, and rehearse the drama, it turns into trauma.
Yeah.
Right? And just real quick, my father just passed away recently. So just last week, we scattered his ashes and we all told stories. And I told that story of him throwing me in the pool. Well, my brother, who's younger than me, said the same story, but it was my uncle who threw him in the pool. And he said to this day, he's scared to swim because he hasn't created an empowering meaning behind it. He allowed that drama to be practiced, drilled, and rehearsed, meaning the story inside, to become a trauma. Don't practice, drill, rehearse your drama. It won't become a trauma. Find an empowering meaning to make sure that the story you're telling yourself positions you as the hero. You overcame it. You went through it. You're still here. All right, let me find a nugget. Let me find the gems. Let me find how I was a raw piece of coal and now I'm a diamond because of what I went through. But if all you see is the dirt in your hands from dealing with coal, you're gonna practice and rehearse that drama story. And it's gonna be trauma, and it's gonna cut you off from your potential and your ability to succeed.
Wow, that's all very empowering, X, and very, very motivational. But there will be other people watching and listening to this and saying, "Oh, that's all well and good. Maybe you are already in the journey, you understand these things, but it's very difficult for some people to actually grasp. And in most cases, it actually takes a lot of time, maybe many years or whatever, depending on the individual, for people to actually come to this realization and this epiphany that they can actually use their mind or whatever resources. But what does it take for actually people to get to this realization? Is there like a timeline? Is there actual resources? What should they actually do? What is the steps? Because sometimes it's the overwhelm, isn't it? They can grasp and understand, but sometimes people want instant gratification of things. They want to be like X today, but to be X, it's taken probably years and trauma and education and a lot of stuff, and people want a quick fix. What would you say to people like that? And what would be your advice? Is there some patience required, some education, and give themselves time, and they will get there? What is it? Because I want it now. I want to be X now.
Yeah. I tell people all the time that patience is always a part of every formula, right? But we can break it down and say that consistency plus intensity equals miracles, right? So you got to have a part of your life where you're working to be consistent over time, right? That's compound interest. That's slowly building up and taking one step at a time, 1 inch, thousands of inches added up comes to the miles at the end of the day, but you got to be consistent. Yeah. But man, that's tough. Yeah. You got it. The human mind and ethic wants to feel gratified today. And that's where you need to focus on being intense. Intensity, you can't maintain all the time. You only can be intense. Like the Olympics is going on right now, 100 meters, we're going to run our top speed for 10 meters. Yeah. So you got to have that burst where you can feel like you've pushed, but you also have these consistencies. So let me break this down and make it practical. Take an area of your life that you want to improve. Break down what it is that you want to actually achieve. It could be money, it could be weight, it could be relationship. Just have a very specific goal in mind. Now, make what I call a low bar minimum, your LBM. A low bar minimum is something you will do every single day that is so simple, so easy that all you have to do is step over it and you've achieved it, allowing for consistency. So let's say you want to lose weight. All right, I'm going to eat 100 less calories today than I did last week, right? Just 100 less calories, which is like a quarter of a Snickers or half a can of a soda less, whatever, just 100 calories. And be consistent with eating 100 calories less per day. Not 5,000, not fasting all day, just 100 calories.
Yeah.
But 100 calories times a whole month is 3,000 calories, which is close to a pound. A pound a month times a year is 12 pounds a year, right? So that's being consistent, but you won't see the change. You're gonna become disheartened over time. Yeah. So this is where you also need some intensity in your life. You might join a gym or a CrossFit place where you do some intense stuff that makes you feel like you've pushed. But you do that once a week, right? Or you fast on Sundays only. Like I fast routinely on Sundays. Like I don't eat Sundays. And then I fast every change of season for 3 days. And then during the winter solstice, I fast for a week to 10 days on water only. Those are intense periods. I don't do them every day. I do them at very specific intervals to make me feel and to push me into it. So consistency plus intensity equals miracles. But you got to understand where the line is drawn. Something you can do every day, that's a low bar minimum, and then every now and then jump into an intense situation. So you can get that euphoria, that feeling, like that gratification that you've actually done something.
Absolutely. Now, within that, what would you say is the power, if at all, of working with a mentor or a coach or someone like you?
I definitely think there's a benefit to having someone outside of you give you advice. You have mentors, you have coaches, you have consultants, and they're all slightly different in how they can help you to achieve your goal. The big thing is that when you're looking outside of yourself for someone who can give you advice, the only thing I implore you to do is understand that principles are what you really want to gravitate towards, and then you want to create practices that are yours. And here's what I mean by that. So many of us look outside of ourselves from those models we talked about and say, this is how it is done. Elon Musk does it this way. This is how it is done, right? Warren Buffett does it this way. This is how it's done. Oprah did it this way. This is how it is done. But the thing about life is that there is no exact formula for success. There are only principles, right? Work hard, keep your mind right, take care of your body. These very generic principles. It's up to you to turn them into practices. Practices are the things that you do that are very specific to your life, because the practices that you do are going to be wholly different than the practices that another person does. Alex may live in this space, so networking in his immediate local environment is counterproductive to his goal. But my mentor said I need to network. All right, well, the principle of networking isn't about going out and shaking hands around where you live. The principle means connecting with people who can connect you to resources. So you have to turn a practice into something viable for you. So I'm going to use LinkedIn to network. I'm turning it into a practice. I'm owning the advice and not being lazy around the idea of that there's this magic pill that a guru can tell me and it will all go away. No, practice. Practice your rehearse the principles and make them yours, because we all have our own secret formula. Nobody has your formula for success. No one has your formula for happiness. No one has your formula for fulfillment. It is uniquely different for you. And when you embrace that, you'll stop looking outside of yourself for the answer as opposed to some advice to help you shorten your learning curve in finding your answer, if that makes sense.